could have given up, but you didn't. You could have stopped believing, but you didn't. You could have kept living their expectations, but you decided to make this life your own. And in turn, you're here. Hello everyone, today we're meeting Tony Schmaltz. He is a speaker, an author, a coach, and a success strategist. Hello, Tony. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me today, Anna.
Thank you. So let's start a conversation by diving into your journey of becoming the person you are today. What led you to discover your true passion in life? How did it start for you?
Well, many years of trying different side businesses that didn't work out. And then in 2018, my family and I moved from Seattle, Washington over to Panama City, Florida. And that was for a job. And when we got there, we got there 2 months before Hurricane Michael, the big Category 5 hurricane that went right over the top of us. And so we rode that out and we survived the Category 5 hurricane. And on the other side of that hurricane, I found out that the company I was working for was not a very good company. So I needed to do something different. And at the time, I didn't know that business was what I wanted to do. Although a friend of mine recommended that I hire a coach and recommended a coach to me. So I hired that coach. And after working with that coach, that personal coach for about 6 months, I said, this is really what I want to do. I want to be a coach myself. I love helping people. I love leading people. I love serving people. And so I started coaching. And I did that part-time on the side for about 2 years. And then in September of 2021, the company that I was working for decided that they were going to lay me off. And so I got laid off. I had a part-time business and no other income coming in. So part-time income, part-time business. And so I had to make a decision. And my decision was that I was going to, instead of going to look for another job, I was going to make it work. And I just pulled myself up by my bootstraps and I really made it happen. I created a bigger income than I was making in my full-time job and continued to grow on that. And since then, I've written a book and hosted events, and it's been just an amazing journey. And I've been very fortunate to be able to have a wife of 21 years that's followed me along all of these crazy ideas and schemes.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I see your personal story of success and how you evolved along the way with transforming yourself into that person that now can teach others. And I know it wasn't easy for you, and a lot of people still in their 9 to 5 job that they feel like they're not really happy about, they're not fulfilled, they always feel there is something else for them that they should start doing. And how do you think is, the first step for people to really start their true passion work? Maybe there's some kind of advice how they can make the time, after they finish their 9 to 5, how can create that opportunity for themselves to really transition into being an employee to being an entrepreneur?
Right. No, that's a great question. So first and foremost, like you said, it's identifying what that passion is, identifying what they really feel down here is they're meant to do or meant to sell. Sometimes it's, they've invented something or created something that they want to sell, whatever that is, whatever that passion is, it's identifying that first. And then to really find the time, this is something I go through with almost every one of my clients. Almost everybody says, oh, I don't have time. I don't have time. And most people, when you actually sit down and look at it, have lots of time. And, we take a look at how much time are you actually spending watching TV or Netflix, or how much time are you scrolling on social media? Take a look at just those very basic things. And most times the average American, specifically, I can't say the average person, but the average American watches 3 hours of television a day. It's like, if you were to just take one of those hours and put it towards your passion and something that would help create that entrepreneurship or that side business for you, 1 hour a day, that's 7 hours a week, that's not much time. That adds up over the length of time to create that vision, that dream that you're really looking for. So start small, I guess is my point. Start small, but look at where you can sacrifice a little bit of what you're doing now to put it towards what you really want.
Right. And everything starts with the small steps, but we need to take that action. First, we need to decide and take responsibility for what we want in our life,
Yes.
right? You always, with people sometimes, blaming, other people or opportunities or events that's happening for what they have in life or what they don't have.
Right.
But in the end of the day, we have to stop and look at our lives as we are the one created that. And
Yes.
only we are the one who can change that, don't you think?
Oh, 100%. Everybody has a choice, and we can choose to react or use the victim, play the victim card, I like to call it, or we can choose to create our world. Like you said, I actually just posted about this yesterday. Most people don't realize that the word create and the word react have the same letters except rearranged. The only difference is the word create has an extra E because it takes energy to create. It doesn't take energy to react. So it's really really people just need to make the choice. How bad do you want it? Do you really want to change? If you really want to change, then you'll find a way how. You'll find a way to create that in your world. That's literally my favorite question to ask people. When people are like, how do I do something? I'm like, well, that depends. What do you want to create? And we start with that. What do you want to create? And they may fumble around a little bit. And when they actually get to something that they really want to create, I want to create a business of my dreams, or I want to create a relationship of my dreams. Great. What do you think is keeping you from getting there? And then you can start down the path of finding out what that is.
Yeah, so we have to be clear on what is it that we want. And then if there is a plan set in place, we have to start taking action towards the direction of where we're going. And, a lot of people have this fear of failure and they don't even start. They procrastinate, they find ways to avoid that. But that's another concern that we have to kind of like look at as part of the process. And yes, we're going to go through ups and downs, but this is just how it is. This is life. We can't expect it to be a success overnight, but we know if we are consistent and we are dedicated to that process, it's just a matter of time and our commitment to it to really see the result for ourselves over time. And you don't know in 3-5 years from today where you're going to be. We always underestimate time, how much can be done in that period.
Right. No, you're right. You're right. And you said one word there that really stuck out to me. All of it was great. All of it was great. And I agree with every bit of it. You said the word commit and commitment. And that's really the big part. So like you said, you're not going to know 3 or 5 years what your life is going to look like. However, you can make the commitment to do what you can today, because all we have is today. Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow's not here yet. All we have is today. And so you can commit to doing something today so that tomorrow is better. Do something better today than you did yesterday. And then tomorrow you do the same thing. Do one thing better than you did the day before, and so on. So when you add those little things up, you commit to wanting that difference, to wanting that change, and make the choice, and then take those steps. And again, it does not take huge amounts. When you think about it in a big scheme of things like this, that's when people procrastinate. That's when people have the fear of failure. That's when people don't take the action. But however, if you take consistent action on even just the little things, over time, those add up to bigger things and create the results that you're looking for.
Yes, right. So we have to focus on one step at a time, but knowing that this is the direction we're going. And yes, we could be overwhelmed with bigger goals, and it's good to set a big goal for yourself and dream big, right? But it's like a long-term vision. So you have to have that as a compass, right? In your mind, but not overwhelming yourself that everything has to be done all at once, because it's not true. And you can only take this 1 or maybe 2 steps, like baby steps, let's call it, right? And that's what matters. And also, like, we have to remind ourselves every single day, why are we doing this? It has to be a why, a purpose behind what you're doing. Nobody can motivate you enough to do something, to change. It has to come from internal. internal drive. How can we stay focused? How can we really like be aware, be present, knowing what we want every single day and staying dedicated and committed to the process? What is your advice, or maybe some practices that you implemented in your life and coached people on that will really support them into having that, internal drive and motivation to stay on track?
Well, so one of the big things is give yourself credit. Give yourself credit for the actions that you take. I mean, even if you just took one action today, like let's say you're selling a product and today you called two people, and even if you didn't get a sale, you give yourself credit for the fact that you overcame the fear, you picked up the phone and you called two people. Those are big deals, especially when you're first starting out. The other piece of that is find ways in your life to maintain a positive attitude. It's hard. We have negativity all around us. I try to help folks with their morning routine. I say, we're human. It's okay to wake up on the wrong side of the bed. However, it's your choice whether you stay there or not. And so I find ways and help people find ways to start their day off positive. It can be meditation. It can be affirmations, declarations. It can be reading something motivational or watching something motivational or listening something motivational. It's different for everybody. However, when you can find that way that starts your morning off with you feeling great, then the odds of letting something get in your way are a lot less throughout the day.
Yes,
And then at the end of the day, at the end of the day, the biggest motivator in the world is action. Action creates more action. And so at the end of every day, just before I'm ready for bed, and I encourage my clients to do the same thing, is I make a list of all my accomplishments for the day. And some of that is not business related. It's not personal development related. And as human beings, we take for granted the things that we do every day. Like, I did the dishes today. I went to the grocery store. I dropped the kids off at school. I made my bed first thing in the morning. I cleaned the kitchen. Those are things that are all accomplishments. They may not be towards your business, but you can look at a list and say, wow, I really did a lot today. And it makes you excited and motivated to do more tomorrow.
Yeah, I think action is a big one. And even though, yes, we have to really affirm and, listen to something that will keep our mind in that positive vibration state, I would say, and really like give us that feeling that, we can do it. So we are in charge of how the day will unfold, right? So it's up to me what I'm choosing to focus on, but also having that understanding that the action is important, and this is what will show me what is the result, and maybe something I need to learn through it. So sometimes maybe something will redirect you to what you never thought about, right? Or open a new opportunity for you. But how would you know if you didn't take that step, if you didn't call that person, right? So with action being very like consistent on a daily basis, this is what will help you to propel forward. And I think celebrating small wins, it's something important, because confidence grows as a kind of like over time, and it's showing us evidence that this is what I achieved until this point.
Right.
So I accomplished, even if it's not as big, or how people would look at it, it doesn't matter.
Right.
What it matters is what you feel about it. And if it's something important for you, this is something you should really acknowledge, and and point out to yourself that I achieved that, so what else can I do, right? It is an evidence showing to you that you can, and you just need to move forward.
Yeah, you're right. And celebrating those things, it helps if you have somebody else in your life to help celebrate those with you. It can be an accountability partner, it can be a spouse, it can be a sibling, somebody that supports what you're trying to do. that you can, even if you meet with them once a week and go, hey, here's what I did this week. And they're going to go, great job. I love that you did this and did this. Perfect. What's on your list for next week? So they can keep you excited about what you've already done and excited about what you're going to do. And it's very helpful, not only to do that for yourself, congratulate yourself and be excited, but if you have somebody else, it helps even that much more. It really helps get people going. And the consistent action is huge. Even if it's one thing today. So one of the practices I do, I talked about my accomplishments, my list of accomplishments. So what I do before I go to bed at night is I have what I call a 4-square journal. And this is a journal of my own design that I've pieced together from various people I've learned from. And I take my open journal and I put a line down the middle and a line horizontally. And in the top left box, I write all my accomplishments. Here's everything I accomplished for the day.
Mm-hmm.
My next box, I put my gratitude. Here's what I'm grateful for all today. The third box, here's what I learned today. And it could be something from having a conversation with somebody as wonderful as Anna. It could be it could be watching an online training video. It could be something I read in a book, whatever that is. Here's what I learned today.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 4 is the big one. Number 4 is, what is my number 1 priority for tomorrow? Now, I may have a checklist of 8 to 10 things, but if I get this one thing done tomorrow, then that's something to celebrate, because that was my number 1 priority. Things come up, life happens.
Mm-hmm.
You can't beat yourself up like you got in a car accident. Well, guess what? Because you got in a car accident, you missed 5 of your checklist items. That's really not your fault. However, if you just say, here's my number 1 priority, and you get that done and you celebrate it, you're excited to take care of number 1 again tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, I think this is a very useful practice for people to try and see how it will help them in their life to organize everything that happened during the day and really see for yourself. Because sometimes we tend to really like slip it from our mind or forget or not really focus on what has been achieved and what's next. If you are setting that intention for the next day to come, and you already know that you are working on it, even without the day started, you already know that this is your priority and it's on your mind and you are focused, then you know what's next. And like you said, if anything comes up, you can just create that time later on, but you still have to keep that in mind that you need to accomplish that certain task.
Right.
And I think with us really setting a priority for the self-care, which is very important, because if you're not fully recharged and refueled and like feeling that you can give and you can do something, like nothing will be done. So I think the mental, physical health are those areas that you have to focus on all the time and really create that space in your schedule. Yep. Intentionally, and knowing that this is a priority for you as well, to set time for yourself to check in with your feelings, your emotions, and what's bothering you. And if you need to speak with somebody, or you need to journal, or you need to process something, you should do it regularly and not waiting until like everything is suppressed to the point where you feel overwhelmed, tired, stressed, because stress is a big, aspect in everybody's life, especially nowadays with all the distractions and all. And with us being in our A game, being really like productive, we need to first focus on giving ourselves that self-care. And it's not selfish, it's essential, don't you think?
Oh, 100%. If you don't feel good, then how can you help somebody else feel good? And that means both mentally, physically, in general. If you need to feel good, otherwise you're going to lack confidence, you're going to lack the focus, the things that you need to really make that world what you want out of it. And so if part of that, anything you do, I don't care if it's a relationship, if it's a business, if it's a career, if whatever, it's all about helping others, serving others, building relationships, regardless of what that means. And people can recognize when you're not feeling good. And if that's
Mhm.
happening too frequently, then you're not helping others and you're not helping yourself. So I agree that self-care is super important, super important. And that includes not only what you put into your body, but into your mind. And
Mhm.
most people don't pay attention to either. Most people in the world of distraction, like you mentioned, that we have today, you've got social media, mainstream media, you've got whatever out there that's literally pulling a garbage truck up next to your head of negative feedback and pouring it in your ear. And so it's your choice to whether you accept that or not. I choose to block out as much negative
Mhm.
feedback as I can. You can't block it out, all of it, of course. There's people in your lives that are going to provide negativity, and you choose how to handle that. However, like reducing things like don't watch the news or limit your social media time or focus on what kinds of things you're gonna read and look at. I talked to several people about, hey, what are your favorite movies? And they're like, oh, horror movies. I'm like, really? Do you know what that's doing to your mind? It's like, it's really,
Yeah.
even though it's not real, their subconscious mind is thinking otherwise. And so it's
Mhm.
really, really what you put into your mind will also help you with the physical aspect. Because once you're feeding your mind positively, then you want to take care of your body more.
Yeah, I think there is always mind-body connection, and we really have to take care of ourselves as if it's the most important thing, right? It's like a living vessel, and it's given us this, precious life that we're living, and we
Right.
have to take care of it. It's our responsibility, and nobody will come and tell you how you should care about yourself. You have to know that. You have to be the one advocating for yourself.
Right.
And if you need to set boundaries with people, you can do it. And nothing, sometimes we have this cycle of negative thinking, and we always feel blame or shame, or however we've been raised, all those aspects come up as a result of conditioning, right? Of
Yes.
all of those patterns. And once we start recognizing that and not identifying with them, it's not who you are. If you can just separate yourself from all those type of thoughts that coming up, and you choose what to focus on, and what's important for you. How can I feed myself, physically, mentally, with something that will nourish me?
Right.
No, that's what's important.
No, you're absolutely right. And I like how you said it, the way you were trained. And there's a chapter in my book. I think it's actually the first chapter where it's titled Forget the Programming, because we've been
Mm,
programmed our entire lives, from
yeah.
starting with our parents to our teachers to the folks at church to our friends' parents. We've been programmed to think a certain way. And it's the studies show that by the age of 7, most people have developed their personalities. Well, depending on how you were raised up to age 7 could depend on how your personality turns out. And then from there, it reinforces that. It reinforces, I'm going to be submissive and listen to my parents and listen to my teachers and listen to everything they say. And along those lines, we lose who we really are. We lose that person. And like you said, being the real you, most people in adulthood have to rediscover who that person is, because
Right.
they're so used to what everyone else is telling them they should be, or how they should act, or what kind of job they should have, or how they should spend their money, that they don't even realize they don't even know what they really want anymore, or who they really are. And
Yeah.
finding that is important. If it doesn't feel right, like if you're talking to somebody or somebody tells you to do something, and even though you said yes in your mind, it doesn't feel right, probably isn't who you are, you
Mm,
know? And so it's
yeah.
that discovery of who you really are that is really super important. And it's important to really move forward.
Mhm.
You can't move forward until you know who you are. Well, you can, but it's not very easy until you know who you are.
Right. So it has to be authentic to you. Whatever you're doing, you always have to ask yourself, why are you doing this? Is it because somebody else wants you to do it? Maybe they see you as certain type of person that's supposed to be doing that.
Right.
Or is it something that really inspires and excites you? And this is what gives you joy and fulfillment.
Right.
So there is always a drive and purpose of what is it that you're trying to accomplish. And if you know that why, and the kind of like all those steps that you taken will become natural, will become authentic. And the more authentic you are with relationship with other people, it's kind of like creates this ripple effect of them helping you with different opportunities, because people sense your energy, right? If you pretend to be somebody else or doing something because you need to or have to or should, it's not the same, comparing to when it's coming from the true heart, true connection, right? So everything matters. And if you want to create something of matter, of something that really long-term goal of yours, it has to come from the place of authenticity.
Yes.
And again, like rediscovering yourself, it should be something that we all need to prioritize and really like check in with ourselves, because all of those emotions usually come up for all of us, one way or another, when we triggered with people, when we interact and we feel something is coming up. And usually it's a result of some kind of patterns from the past.
Mhm.
And we need to like deal with that and question that. Why is that? Why am I feeling this way? What
Right.
does it tell me? Because usually it's like an identifier, it's a message for you to focus your attention on what is something that maybe you need to release or let go. It's no longer serving you at this moment. And you are grown to a different kind of version of yourself where that doesn't fit who you are. So rediscovering you and really connecting to your true voice and knowing what you want is, I think, the foundation of where you're going and what you're going to build in your life. Yeah, so I just want to you elaborate on what do you think is can help us to connect with our true voice, and what would help us to really like support ourselves into like um, building our character on what is the main values that we live by, because I think everybody should know their core values,
Mhm.
and everything else will come in place as we become authentic to who we are. And knowing those values, we're going to start acting upon them, being an embodied version of those values.
Right. Right. So to your point about the values, everybody needs the values. I agree. Although if most people who haven't discovered themselves yet, if they try to go straight to their values, then they're going to go to the values they've been taught by somebody else. So the
Yeah.
self-discovery really needs to come first. And with a lot of my clients, I usually try to help take them back in their past when they do remember who they were. And this takes time, because again, we're talking about going back to the time when you were 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and thinking about what it was you really enjoyed before you started getting everyone telling you how you had to live. What was it you really enjoyed before you knew you had to live that way? What was it really? Did you enjoy sports? Did you enjoy playing dress up? Did you enjoy, making forts in the woods? Did you enjoy taking walks or riding your bike down the street? Find those things that you found enjoyment, and then ask yourself, why did you enjoy those things? What was it about those that really made you happy and really helped you get excited about it? I mean, what was it when your parents took you to the zoo? Was it the excitement at seeing these animals? What was it that really helped you feel fulfilled and feel excited? And translate that into this world today. Is there something that you have today that makes you feel that excited? And
Mm.
it's going to be different. Of course it is. But you want to remember that feeling of excitement, that feeling of alertness, of awareness that you had back then, and apply it to something today. And usually the something today is something that you've suppressed, even though you still do it. You kind of hide it from people. You're like, well, I don't want people to know this part about me. Well, that's more of the reason why you probably need to bring that out. If it's something you feel like you're hiding from somebody, then you're truly hiding yourself. So take a look at those things that you remember that being excited when you were a kid, and take a look at the things you are keeping from people today and see if those are things that actually give you that same excitement. And if they are, then those are the things you need to focus on to be the real you and what you're really passionate about, and really follow that path to those things. It's super exciting when you see somebody have that light bulb moment and they're like, you're right. I am excited about this and I've been hiding it from people. Well, yeah, stop hiding it, bring it out, let it out, you know?
Yes, I think that's very important for us to see what is it that we're suppressing and hiding, because I think fear and excitement is like one thing, but it has two different poles of it. Like, and if we lean towards something that we're scared of, usually it has the opposite side of it, which is like excitement, right? And it feels like it's fear and anxiety, but then once we start doing it, once we start really like opening up and speaking about it, we will see the other side of it. And usually it's an indicator that you should try and see what happens if you be courageous enough to start exploring that area of your life that
Yes.
you've been scared of. And I think that's something people getting away from, but we need to lean towards it. It's like the opposite, and it's counterintuitive of how we act, but usually this is what happens, don't you think?
Oh, 100%. And the other part that is a piece of that is one of my phrases that I say to people is completely unacceptable. I don't say unacceptable about hardly anything, but the one phrase or variation of the phrase that is unacceptable is "I give up." If somebody ever says to me "I give up" or I'm done with this or this that any version of that, I'm like, that's unacceptable, because that's the only thing not that is life in general. It doesn't matter if it's something you're passionate about, like you're talking about, the ones that they're hiding. So many people, they try to they try to talk to one person about it and the other person didn't accept it. So they're like, I give up. No, that doesn't mean you stop there. If you really is something that defines the real you and that you're passionate about and that you really enjoy, then so what if that person doesn't agree with it? Go on to the next person or the next person. You do not ever give up. There is no such thing as giving up or throwing in the towel or I'm done. None of that is acceptable. So really stick with that passion, whatever it is, once you discover it.
Definitely. And also, you just mentioned like, if we start talking about something that excites us, some people would not agree, and that's okay.
It is okay.
A lot of times we are trying to please people. We want to make it comfortable for them to accept it, but it's not really the reality of things, right? It has to be true for us. And it's their choice if they want to hear it or explore more about it or not. So it shouldn't stop us from pursuing what is true for us. And we shouldn't focus on trying to please people, because it's an impossible task. You would never please, everybody. It's always, there are people who would hate it, the people who would love it, there are people who in between. And you cannot focus on that. Like, it's out of your control. So it's not something that should stop you.
No, no, not at all. I love how you said that, because I'm a huge advocate of eliminating being a people pleaser. There's a term that I learned from my coach, and it's an acronym, and it's called WITOT, WITOT, and it stands for what I think other people think. Because we get into our own heads, like you said, about being a people pleaser. We're so worried about pleasing the other person and what they're going to think that we don't say what we really feel, and we don't let it out. So we live in fear of what other people are going to think or say. In reality, we don't have a clue. I mean, I could be sitting here talking with you and thinking that you're thinking that I'm nuts. At the same time, you could be thinking about driving down the road in the countryside right now. I have no idea. I don't know what you're thinking. You don't know what I'm thinking. So as people in general, why do we spend so much time worried about what other people think? And that's the people pleaser side. When we can get past that, and it takes practice. First, it takes a choice, and then it takes commitment and practice. Those are the three biggest things: choice, commitment, practice. And when you put those three things together, then you really start to reduce, if not eliminate, being a people pleaser, you can really start to bring yourself closer to your passion and what you really want to get out of life or out of your career, out of your business, or out of your relationship, and really bring it all together. But you really got to start with the choice. You got to add commitment, and then you got to practice, practice, practice.
Yes, definitely. And also like worrying about what people think, it's always a waste of time, right? You'd rather focus that energy on creating something, you know, because otherwise this worry, it would just not like really, it would not contribute to your all like well-being. And it's not something that you should spend time on thinking, because like you said, sometimes we even create like worst case scenario in our mind, which is not true, something that we believe is true that is not. And why even focus on that, right?
Right.
And it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter because again, like in the end of the day, it's for you, like what is important for you, not for others. And I believe every one of us has something to share with the world, with as a service to others, and you will always find your crowd. You will always find your people who are willing to receive what is it that you sharing, right? Could
Yeah.
be not the people that you know in your life, but you will discover them. But with your commitment and dedication to that process, to your passion, if you keep going, you know, that crowd will grow and
Yes.
you will meet the right people. And if you lose other people on the way, maybe they were not meant to be in your life anyway, right? Why should you really worry about that?
Right. Yeah. You need to surround yourself with the people that support you, not the people that are
Yeah.
against you. And there's a phrase, I think there's several people that have said it, but Gary Vaynerchuk is the one I remember the most, where he said, if you're not pissing somebody off, then you're doing it wrong.
Mhm.
And it's the truth, because if you're really being your authentic self, not everyone's going to like it. You're going to
Mhm.
have, like you said, you're going to have the supporters, the people that like who you are, they like what you're doing, and you're going to have the people that don't like it, and they're not going to be supporters. That doesn't mean you change who you are. You continue to be who you are, and that group of people that follow you will grow. And
Yeah.
even though the group of haters might grow too, so what? Just focus on the ones that are followers and the supporters. That is the key to being to growth and happiness, is focus with the people that support what you do, not the ones that don't.
Right. And I think that's something that we all need to keep in mind. And I'm so glad that we had this conversation today. For those who would like to connect with you online, how can they find you?
Well, you can find me on any of the major social platforms. So search Tony Schmaltz on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, or go to my website at tonyschmaltz.com. There's lots of free videos, free stuff, and you can learn pretty much anything you need to know about me or what I do.
All right. I'm going to also add it to show notes as well. And
Awesome.
as we close today, what would be the thought for our listeners?
So my thought for the listeners is create miracles in your life. And when I say create miracles, that means go out and do something that you didn't think you could do, because you're wrong. You can do it. You can do just about anything that you want once you get out of your own head. You tell yourself, you make the choice, you make the commitment, and you practice it. And then before you know it, that miracle will be there, and you're going to look back and say, wow, I did that. So create that miracle in your own life, and you'll be happy you did.
Yes. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy your day.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, hit the subscribe button and share it with others. Stay tuned.